All right, hello, welcome everybody. Welcome to Talkin Investing. You're here with George and Tom. George, I'm going to start with you today. What do you got?
What? Why did you? Are you kidding me?
You want me to start with me? No problem.
You're killing. Oh my goodness. Oh wow.
You guys can see we're not on the same page. Well, that's okay. I'll go. Welcome everybody. We got a lot to talk about. Another massive week. This was a big week for the stock market. We're going to talk about a bunch of sectors. I'm going to give 3 stocks that we told the members about that are really on fire right now. And then I'm going to talk about 3 more stocks that I think there's still room to grow in. We're going to talk about all of our usual stocks. It was a very good week for the Bitcoin miners, which are now more data center energy companies. So we're going to go through all those charts. Week to date, the month of May, which for the stocks is over. For Bitcoin, it's not. And then we're going to go through 3. There are 3 indicators that are about to either succeed or fail. And I believe those 3 indicators are going to decide whether the next leg for Bitcoin is up or down. So we're going to talk about all of that and more. So welcome to the show.
We're doing a show? Wait, this is a show?
Welcome to the program. Welcome to the channel. If you're near, well, that reminds me. If you would be so kind and smash the like button. We're going for 150 likes. We would really appreciate it. It does help the channel out a lot. Let's get people over here to join the party. Our members are killing it right now. We do have a membership. You can, if you're not subscribed, you can subscribe to the channel. We'll talk more about that nonsense later. But for now, if you'd just be so kind as to smash the like button, it really does help us out a lot. Go ahead, George.
Okay, today, what's going on, everyone? Tonight, we'll be talking about something that most people are not paying attention to. And I think it could change money, businesses, and investment faster than people realize. AI is starting to replace jobs. Small businesses are getting smarter. Crypto looks like we're fucked. We're screwed. Is waking up, but it's just going the wrong way. Meanwhile, homeowners are getting squeezed with higher prices, higher insurance, higher taxes, expensive repairs. So the real question is, where is the opportunity? Is it time to be scared, or is it time to make smart decisions and pour more money into this unbelievable stock market? I want to talk about the money moves that we're going to make this week, which industries are going to win and which industries are going to get destroyed. Is AI a help for the United States or the rest of the world? Drop your comments. Something big's happening. And I'm going to tell you this. We could see the largest IPO in history in less than 2 weeks.
Right on. All right, we got our plate full between with what I went through and what George went through. And I'll just add to the end of what you said, George. We could see 2 of the largest IPOs in history. So that's number 1. We got a couple of gigantic IPOs. There's a lot of things sucking all the air out of the room right now. We got a bunch of IPOs coming up that are just astronomically large. Although I'm going to try and put it in perspective. I don't think they're going to take as much money away as people think. And then the second thing is, you talked about AI, George, and how it's going to affect people, how it's going to affect different countries. And what I'm going to add to that is we are definitely going to talk about AI. Most of our stock plays that we've been talking about for the last 5 years on this channel have really turned into AI companies. I'm going to talk about somebody very important that bought a lot of these companies, and the coverage is just beginning on them. So AI is a move like no other move I've ever seen. And there's a lot of times where you'll go, wow, we've never seen anything like this before. And it's hype and it's hyperbole. But if you look at the raw dollars that are being spent here, I mean, this dwarfs even the .com era. So we'll see what impact it has on society. Go ahead, George.
Does it dwarf the electric vehicles?
It dwarfs. Oh, it's the electric vehicles are next to zero compared to AI spending.
No. But what they got up to?
Oh, nothing. Not even close. Not even at their absolute peak. And those companies were $100 billion companies, and they were losing $5 or $6 or $7 billion a year on some of them on $100 million of revenue. So we've had several bubbles over the last 26 years, culminating all the way back to the .com bubble. I do not believe we're in a bubble, so we'll talk about that as well.
I almost jumped off a building today, Tom.
That's not good. Did you have
I typed in HUT, and I bought HUT like, I don't know, 2 years ago at like $60, I don't know, $1.10. I don't even remember what it was. And I'm like, I made out like a bandit. And I just saw it. And I was just like, are you effing kidding me? It was at 130, 40, 25. I don't remember. But it's in the hundreds.
We will you are right. And I'll just give a little spoiler alert. We're going to go through what all the stocks have done this week, this month, this year. HUT right now is leading all of our group of stocks that we follow. So when we get to that, you're going to see HUT is in first place. The move that they have made this year is huge. There's several others that have had awesome moves as well, but at the moment they're in the lead. And we're looking at a couple of different ways, but yeah, there's been some gigantic winners. And another thing that we're really trying to do is figure out what's next, because as these things go up and up and up, as they have been, at some point, some of us are taking some profits. Now, there's all different kinds of ways to play this. Some people day trade by the second. Some people day trade by the minute. Some people day trade, some people swing trade, some people are long-term investors, but either which way, no matter how you're doing this, you do have a strategy of how you're getting in, and hopefully you have a strategy of how you're getting out. So I am taking some small amount of profits. That's not financial advice. That's just what I'm doing. And mostly it's because these stocks have ballooned to a point where they're so disproportionately large in my portfolio, and I see some other sectors that are beaten down really on what I would call just 100% FUD. There's some false action going on in the market that I think we can take advantage of. So those are the stocks we're going to talk about in addition today. And we did, we've talked, I'll show you all the ones that we've called out on the members only stream and what they've done. And there's some more I'm going to add right now that are still, to me, in the very early stages. Obviously, again, please do your own due diligence. The one thing we always talk about on this channel is you cannot borrow somebody else's conviction. I don't care if you're watching me or George or, any other financial channel, somebody you think somebody who has a great track record that you trust. All of that matters until a bad day happens and your stock's down 10%, 15%.
A bad month.
A bad week.
A bad year.
Right. And now all of a sudden, instead of dollar cost averaging in because you did your due diligence and this is a big buying opportunity, you bought high and you're selling low. We can't say it enough. It's really the number one thing. And it's not a lot of work. I'm not telling everybody go out and just, quit all your other hobbies and you've got to start studying 10Ks. No, in an hour or two, you can get comfortable enough with a company and then just keep your eye on them, do your due diligence. So anyway, that's enough of that. But it is important because it's the number one. There's a reason 90+% of retail investors lose. And that phenomenon, I wouldn't be surprised if it's a much higher number now because, with the explosion of social media and quote unquote influencers, this phenomenon is just getting worse and worse and worse. So before you do your due diligence, smash the like button. If you would be so kind. What do we got, George? Do you know how many likes we have?
30, 31, 32.
31, 32. All right. Let's get the stream out there because I think we're getting we're getting throttled. So let's make it happen. We need some likes to. Oh, you know what? I'm going to send out.
I'm doing it. Don't worry about it. I'm doing it right now.
I just sent out a message to everybody. So if you just got a message from me, that's from the channel, letting everybody know we are live.
I was going to tell everybody I did a poll a few hours ago, and about SpaceX. Will it go over 2 trillion on the first day? 45% said yes, 55% said no, 1.7 max.
So very close.
Yep.
That's a toss-up. And there's some confusion going on out there. And Elon Musk put some information out there that was a little bit in conflict to the filing that they made. And people are already having a hard time. I will tell you guys, I don't want any part of that IPO. So we'll talk more about it later, and you guys might disagree with me. And that might be something that's the biggest company in the world 10 years from now. But right now, from what I see of them financially, I don't know how to justify. They're talking about a 1.75 billion and trillion, and a lot of people are talking about over 2 trillion. And then a lot of times what happens on IPO day is even intraday, it could go up. It could go up to 3.5 trillion intraday and then pull back. I mean, we've seen wicked moves. They are raising $75 billion. That is the most of any IPO in the history of time. The previous all-time record was $26 billion by Saudi Aramco. And then I think behind that was what used to be called Facebook, now Meta, at 20 or 21 billion. This is 75 billion. It's triple the biggest IPO in history. And they want to put it at a valuation that makes it one of the 10 biggest companies in the world. So I don't know that it's earned that yet. Again, this is a company with endless potential and intangible assets and tangible assets, but I'm not going to be participating in phase one of this. I will wait until the end of lockup periods, and I will see where it's at. And if I've missed it, I'm okay with that, because we're going to go through a lot of other stocks today that don't have, in my opinion, that is by no means an asymmetrical trade. There's potential massive reward, but there's potential massive risk. So I'm looking for trades where the upside outweighs the downside in all likelihood. And I think there's a lot of them right now in this market. Just to put it in perspective, the market hit all-time highs yesterday, and it did it again today. It is just almost every day. It's relentless. But with that said, there's way more companies down than up. So there are opportunities. And money rotation, which used to happen slowly, like everything else in the year 2026, it's now at warp speed. So we had to follow the bouncing ball, and I'm going to try to show you guys what I'm looking at, and you could do your own due diligence and see if you think it's worth putting on your watch list at least. I think you guys are going to, a lot of you will know a lot of these stocks. Some of you might own some of these stocks. And if you don't, I think they're worth putting on your watch list, right? You got to decide what you're going to do. But I think there's some winners, and there's more forming. And I'm spending a lot more time looking elsewhere. I have my plan for what is now, the 7 or 8 stocks that make up an abnormally large percent of my total portfolio. So I have been whittling away, selling a little bit at a time. But there's some I've still sold none of. I still have all my IREN. So all right, that's just me.
Well, Tom, I think a lot of these are just getting started. I think we were not only early, we watched something be developed.
That's true, and we're going to go through a little bit of the super quick history lesson on that, because this is what ended up. This is not where it started, but this is where it is right now. Sour Melon Gaming, thank you for the super chat. Sour Melon said, "Tom made me rich. Become a member. Don't be cheap." That is from Sour Melon Gaming, who's been a member for almost 4 years now. So thank you, Sour Melon, and congratulations. I know you've had massive success along the way. And Appreciate all your comments along the way as well. And to all of the members, I see a bunch of you guys in the chat section. So thank you so much for being involved and supporting the channel. And hopefully you're all doing somewhere as good as Sour Melon Gaming is. All right. Where to begin? Let's start with some. Let's start inside our group here. And I'm just going to go through a press release. There's really only one super significant press release that came out this week among the group of stocks that we look at. So I'm just going to get that out of the way. Otherwise, I'll forget it. This came out, I believe, yesterday. Actually, it says May 26th. So, oh, you know what? This came out at 4 p.m. on Tuesday. So we got to read this. One of our members, while we were in the middle of our members only stream, said, hey, IREN just put out a press release. So this was hot off the presses, but it's only a couple of days old now. IREN had a gigantic day after this. It was up, I think, 13+% the next day. So IREN targets $4.4 billion in annual run rate with Blackwell development at Childress. I'm not going to read this whole thing word for word, but there's a couple of important parts. IREN today announced it has entered into a purchase agreement with Dell for air-cooled Blackwell systems to service its previously announced 5-year, $3.4 billion managed service AI cloud contract. The transaction is part of IREN's ongoing investment to accelerate time to compute, today the defining constraint in AI. So that is an important sentence. And if there's one takeaway I would take from all of this is, for as much as the chip stocks are on fire, and we're participating a little bit in that, there's a lot of that I personally missed. There's chip stocks that, 30x, 40x, 50x. And there's some others that are, I think, still in early stages of running, but early stages in that they're already up 800%. But I think that's only just the beginning, and I'll talk about some of those as well. But my point is, for as much as AI needs these chips, the one thing they desperately need even more than that's a bigger constraint and a bigger bottleneck in the supply chain is data centers and power. So this started out 5 years ago as a list of Bitcoin miners. We've been following them for 5 years, and half our list now is either in the process of abandoning Bitcoin mining or already done abandoning Bitcoin mining, switching over to, because they've been vertically integrated. So one of the things that happened to Bitcoin miners was this space got very competitive. So, it used to just be the machines were a bottleneck. If you could get the machines, you plug them in, you mint money. But after the network has increased astronomically, the difficulty level is way up. What happened was these guys had to get better and better and better and more efficient at power. Is the vast majority of the cost of Bitcoin mining. It's almost everything else is almost irrelevant. So they became very efficient energy companies. They vertically integrated. They built their own, a lot of them built their own infrastructure. IREN in particular said from the beginning, and I was critical of them. I've said that before, and I will say to the CEO of this company, he was right and I was wrong. And I'm going back 3 years ago when nobody was talking about AI. None of these stocks had taken off in any way, shape, or form. The CEO of this company started off his quarterly earnings call by saying, we are not a Bitcoin mining company. And that made me a little nuts, because at that time, 100% of their revenue was from mining Bitcoin. So some of you have heard me talk about this before. And if you've been with us long enough, you remember when I went off on it. But what his next sentence is we build data centers. That is our expertise. We are experts at building data centers. We're a data center power company. Now, nobody cared about that when he said that at that time. But it's apparent to me now that he knew then what we all know now, which is this is gold, right? No, people can't get their hands on these energy agreements that the Bitcoin mining companies were forced to get into to fix the lopsided economics of Bitcoin mining. So now they're all saying, wait a second, I can make substantially more money turning these into AI data centers. And that is what's happening almost across the board. A lot of them will still mine Bitcoin, and they'll be big Bitcoin miners, but there's been a huge, huge shift. And some companies were early. IREN was one of them. IREN is now the biggest. I'm going to show you guys market caps. I did an analysis of everybody's market cap on January 1st, 2023. So that's 23, 24, 25, and almost half of 26. That's 3.5 years. I'm going to show you what their market cap is this week versus what it was 3.5 years ago. And it is stunning. This was a nano cap stock 3.5 years ago, and it is now the biggest one of our Bitcoin mining companies by market cap by far. So that's the kind of run you can have. I was very fortunate to get into this stock for $6. It's trading over $60 right now. So, and I don't think, like I said, I haven't sold my first share. So not financial advice, but I think all the upside is ahead. There's one analyst. I'd like to have a half an hour conversation with the analyst at Goldman Sachs who thinks that this stock is overvalued and put a price target of 50 on it versus everybody else is at 80 or 90 or 100. And I think they're all low. So these guys, oftentimes you will find that the analysts are very slow to catch up to the price target. And what happens with good companies and good stocks that have key bottleneck parts of, in this instance, AI, the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years of growth, it gets priced in fast. It may get priced in 6 months, a year, 18 months. And then, then the move has already happened. But we're at the very beginning of this. And I think it's going to go rapidly. So I think for this person to think that IREN's going to be at $50 a year from now, I'm going to do a poll. And let's see what you guys think. We'll just go yes or no. Let's not get complicated. Is $50 a reasonable price target for IREN? Yes or no? And again, that was just a couple of weeks ago. So the analyst from Goldman Sachs, while all his peers were at $90, $99, $100, he decided that, nope, $50. Old Jock, member for 39 months, says, remember Tom going off on IREN when they announced a $300 million at the market when their market cap was only $200 million? His exasperation was hilarious. And it was. And I sold the stock. So thank you, Old Jock, for remembering. Those of you who were there probably remember because I was beside myself. This was a $200 million. So, that puts it in perspective. This was a $200 million market cap company. It's now over $20 billion. And it's only I just did this rant a few years ago. So as a $200 million market cap company, they said, we're going to raise $300 million. Well, I about lost my mind. That's more than 100% stock dilution. But along with that, they said, we're going to do A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And I thought, well, that would be great if they could do all that, but good luck. Well, guess what? They did all of that. And I did get an opportunity. Thankfully, I had 6 months to think about it and watch them execute. And I was able to get back into this thing at $6. Or I would have missed it altogether because I sold everything after that. After I had that rant, I sold all my IREN, and I am very fortunate that I got a chance to get back in. And it's by far my biggest position right now. And it's not because it's what I bought the most of. It's just because, it 10x'd. So, yeah, I went on a couple rants about IREN, but
it could be why what's his name's no longer here anymore. What's his name?
Which one?
Edmund.
Edmund.
Edmund was a humongous IREN fan. I think Tom changed it. Maybe I did. And then he went into all 100% in this Michael Saylor's company.
He went all in on Microstrategy. Unfortunately, at a time when FOMO was happening, it was in the 400s. It popped up to the 500s. And at that time, everybody was talking about Microstrategy $2,000. We had a member that was named like Microstrategy $10,000. And it was like, that's how excited people were about Microstrategy. I will tell you, everybody on this channel, I think, knows if this is your first time here, then I sold Microstrategy at $350 like a year and a half ago. I did buy it back a while ago at $110. So I feel very good. I don't do a lot of buying and selling. So we just named 2 stocks that I sold and bought back. That is extremely rare for me. But getting rid of that at $350 and watching it at $110, it was worth 1 times its asset, and Bitcoin was low. So I just felt it was a good way to continue to diversify my Bitcoin related holdings. So I got back in. It's been just up from there. I'm up maybe 50% on that or somewhere in that neighborhood. But everything's been up in that period of time. Everything in our little universe anyway. So that's been we've had a good run, and we're going to take a look at some of these stocks. A lot of these stocks are up over 100% in a pretty short period of time that we follow. And while some of them are overheated from a technical standpoint, I don't think that means they're going to crash. In my opinion, there's going to be a lot of consolidation ahead, and then the next leg up versus having, a big crash. That's just my opinion. So this is pretty close. Is $50 a reasonable price target for IREN? 32% say yes, they think that is a reasonable price target. Understand it is, let's take a look. IREN closed the day at $63.54, and that is down. I got this open somewhere.
I just think of that guy with the open AI who's making this trade right now.
Right. This is a big one.
Yeah.
We'll talk about him. There's a big player that's owns a bunch of IREN. They have a pretty big position. I got a chart of his positions, and we'll go through that. A bunch of our stocks are on his list as of right now. But anyway, this chart shows just a couple of days ago, IREN was at $68. What it doesn't show is on Friday, May 8th, in after hours, IREN got up to $73. So you don't see that on the daily chart because it was after hours. They announced their earnings. Everybody acknowledged that they hit it out of the park. And then they put out immediately after hours another press release that they were going to raise $2 billion. Well, the market panic sold. That went from $73 to $50-something in minutes. So it didn't make any sense to me. I won't even give that speech again, but I don't ever. And by the way, everybody hated it so much that there was such a demand that they ended up raising $3 billion, not $2 at 1% interest. And it's convertible debt and I did this in detail for the members. I do not believe they will ever have to convert that debt. So I believe they're going to get to transition that into traditional non-convertible debt at a low interest rate 2 or 3 years from now, and they're never going to have to convert that. And so essentially, they've borrowed $3 billion for 1% interest. So what I would say to everybody that sold on that day, if you think management can't outpace 1% growth, then you definitely should have not been in the stock in the first place. So sometimes I just try and put it into a little more simple logic and line of reasoning because it just doesn't make any sense. So for the market cap to tank 15 or 18% because they just borrowed enough money to dilute themselves 10% 5 years from now, if they ever have to do it, makes no sense. So anyway, enough of that. So the market loved this. You'll see this was a huge up day. This got all the way up to $68 just 2 days ago on this announcement. And now it's had 2 red days in a row. You can see this is kind of a hammer candle with the red on top, which is good. That means this, was down and it opened and it closed higher than it was for the rest of the day. And I think you're going to see this is just a little consolidation. This stock is at 60 on the daily RSI. That's probably the lowest out of all the stocks that we follow. Most of these are at 70, 75, 78. Some of them are even more than that. Those stocks are overbought. There was some profit taking here quickly, but all right, welcome to Talkin Investing. I think that's all these 2 days were. I think this rally continues. That's my opinion. Our Moon, welcome to Talkin Investing. Glad to have you with us. Join us Tuesday after the market closes. We will have a members only stream. We get to go a lot deeper on our members only stream, and we don't get throttled, so we're allowed to say a lot of things that YouTube doesn't like us saying here on the regular stream.
Everything is awesome. What is it? Everything is cool when you're part of a team. Sorry.
Are you doing the Legos movie right now?
Yep. I'm the bad businessman. Remember that? The bad businessman. Sorry.
That's all right. That was a classic.
Lord Prophet.
Thank you, Katie, for being the voice of reason.
60.
60? 60 likes. Do us a favor, smash the like button if you would be so kind. It helps get this out. We're still lower by far than all of our average numbers. So they're really not pushing this stream. So let's make it happen. This is a lot of good stuff. All right, let's keep moving. I want to go to the Bitcoin chart and then talk about some stuff that's going on. So this is the 15-minute. And you'll see, I mean, this actually right here was the market open. So we pulled back pretty strong for the first hour and a half today. And then a big move up. And, this is not too bad. We still finished way higher than we were down there. But we do have a little point here that you'll see. Let me get rid of the scribbles. This is very short.
The Trump save?
Yeah. So you'll see this is some resistance. This is on the 15 minutes. So I wouldn't get too excited about whether or not this holds or not. But we did go above it for a few minutes and then right back below. We're not back above this yet, but that's not really what I'm looking at. So I'll tell you the first of 3 things that I'm looking at. And there's a drop dead date on this one. This is the 1-day chart. So we literally just this second flipped from green to red on the day today. It's been flipping back and forth all day long. You'll see in the big picture on the 1 day, we are very close to a total reset on the daily RSI, right? We're at 35.5 right now. 30 is a reset. You'll see like in extreme scenarios, Thursday, February 5th, 2026, there have been 2 days where things went off the rails in the last 2 years. And it was April 8th, 2025 and February 5th, 2026. So you can see, in extreme circumstances, this can go way under 30. It can easily go to 25, 27, 28. So, exactly hitting 30 doesn't automatically mean a reset. But, we haven't been this low. I mean, it's been the last time we were this low was in February of this year on the daily RSI. So we are in the process of a reset. The problem is, one of the 3 things that I would like to see happen that I think would confirm that we are in a bull market. So that's why I say there's 3 things. If we go 3 for 3, my confidence would be very high that we are officially in a bull market. If we don't, if we go 2 for 3, then, that's going to be a gray area. If we go 1 for 3 or 0 for 3, then I'm going to say we got to wait and see what the next bunch of indicators are. The first one that I want to talk about right now is there is a line right here, this white line at $76,306. We're currently at $73,528. So we're like $2,800 under that line. Today is the 29th. So we have until Sunday to get above this line. This is where we closed last month. If we do that, and I'm going to go to the 1 month now, might have a better spot to do that here. If I go to the 1 month, you can see we had a green month in March. We had a big green candle in April. I'm going to get rid of the marks I just made. This is where we closed April. If we can get above this line, we will have a green candle in May. Bitcoin has never had 3 green candles in a row without it being a bull market. So that would be a sign that the next move is up. We've never had this much of we have recoveries inside of bear markets. That's quite typical. Only one time did we ever have 2 green candles in a row. We've never had 3. Now, this was looking good for a lot of the month. We were up to $82,832, almost $83,000. All we had to do was hold $76,000. But right now, we got 2 days left, and we got $2,800 to go to get above $76,309. If we don't, then we will be 0 for 1 out of the 3 indicators that I'm looking at, and we'll go through the other 2 in a few minutes. But this one, to me, is the most urgent because the other 2, we have some time to do over days or even potentially a week or 2. But this is a drop dead date at the end of May. If this candle's red, then we failed that test. So I'm looking very closely at that. Thank you very much.
Millie.
Millie, is that what we're going with?
Yeah, Millie.
Thank you for the super chat. Much appreciated. I hope that you are enjoying the stream.
67, Tom. 67.
67 likes. All right, let's do it. We're going for 150. After hours, after we ended the stream, we did get above 150 last week, but we didn't get there during the stream. Yeah, that was good.
Oh, you didn't? Oh, I saw 180 and I was all excited.
It was.
And I reached out to somebody. Let's see what she said. I'd never even seen what her response was.
Katie, if you get rich, you can hire anybody to do that.
Do what?
Will you do No, I definitely am not qualified to do that. So, but thanks for joining us as always, Katie, a regular on the channel. And by the way, our channel statistics must be wrong because it says in the last month 0.0% of our viewers were female. Now, I know that the financial area skews male more than female on YouTube for whatever reason, but it was 100%, 100.0% to 0.0%. So I'm going to say that is false because Katie disproves that right here, right now, and she's a regular. So I appreciate you being here. I don't know why they're not capturing you in the analytics.
So you're telling me there's a chance?
So, by the way, George, be careful what you say about Canada and be careful what you say about the UK because that is our second and third biggest audience by far.
And so you might have a list of the bad words I can't say.
And then I see BVD saying, wrong. I am watching always, every time. I don't know if that is also a woman.
Well,
with initials, it's hard to say. But
I mean, that would obviously kind of make sense.
You've inferred that, George, through the comment. I don't know why it says that, but it was
71.
It was 100. It was 0.0. Anyway, thank you, everybody. Male, female, tall, short, North America, Europe, anywhere else you may be. Actually, if you could drop in the chat. We know we have a lot of viewers. U.S. is number one in our viewership, but it's only about half our viewers. Canada is number 2 with a big number. UK is number 3 with a big number. And then it kind of drops off a cliff. So let us know where you're from if it's not one of those 3 places. And Alexander
she did not respond. She has an attitude. She's got a tude, guys. Susie Q has a tude.
So,
I identify as a woman.
BVD is a female.
Man boobs.
Oh, brother.
Sorry.
So we have some women. I don't know why. And Katie's from Maine. So thank you for joining us, Katie. IREN.
And general properties from Iran.
We got somebody from.
I know you're not. I know who it is. No.
Oh, we got fooled.
Yeah, it's from Toronto. Oh, Canada, I mean.
Netherlands. Very nice. Very nice. Welcome from the Netherlands. And Jack said Keel to $20. I don't think that's out of the question.
Do you get out before that, Tom, or no?
I will have taken a majority of my position by then. But I'm already... See, here's the thing. I have a few that I've stuck with for a long time. And as a result, even though they're nowhere near their all-time highs or even their recent highs, I'm up 300%, 350%. One of these I'm up almost 1,000%. And so at some point, if you're not taking some... I mean, what am I waiting for? Up 1,000%. Now, actually... Ironically, the one that's up 1,000%, I'm not taking any profits on because I really, really think it's only just getting going. But for Keel, I had talked, if you guys remembered, we spent the first quarter of this year. First of all, George spent the last 2 full years telling Bitfarms, you've got to re-domicile to the United States. Right? We pounded the table on that every stream for 2 years. Well, I'm not saying we had anything to do with it by any means, but as a matter of coincidence, they did so. So in the first quarter of this month, I had been saying, starting April 1st, they did that on April 1st. It's now May 29th. They were trading with a 1 handle. They were trading in the ones when that happened. They now are at $5.68. So I had been saying they are going to run to $5 once they get to the United States and become domiciled in the United States. Now, that's not the only thing they did. So I think they made a lot of good moves. They've tried to redefine who they are. They've rebranded as Keel. I'm not sure that was one of their good moves because I think we've taken a couple of votes and people are not big fans of the name, but they had to distance themselves from the number of missteps that previous management at Bitfarms had taken. So they are no longer Bitfarms. They'll always be Bitfarms to me, but they are no longer Bitfarms. But I bought shares for years and years and years. So that's a stock I'm up over 300% on. So I did start taking profits. I have 4 of these companies that I've sold about 6 or 7%. So it's not like a mass exodus. I have about 4 of these that I've sold about 6 or 7% of my position. And I have benchmarks along the way where I hope to keep doing that, if they reach those benchmarks. But again, like George mentioned earlier, I think we're very early stages. I'm just not going to try to wait. And, I didn't get in one day, so I'm not going to get out in one day. The times that I get out in one day, it's because something fundamentally changed with the company, not because the stock is moving in one direction or the other. So let us know in the chat if you're taking profits now. Actually, we'll do the next. Let's end this poll. So 59% say no, $50 is not reasonable for IREN, but 41% think, yeah, that's a reasonable price target, which means they think IREN is overvalued right now. I see IREN going to 100 in a short period of time. Actually, 75 is my very first, and I'm talking, if 2 weeks from now it's not 75, I'm surprised. I'm not shocked because you guys know anything can happen, but I will be surprised if it's not $75 sometime in the next 2 weeks.
Netherlands and what was it? Poland. Thank you and welcome.
All right. Can we 3x from here? And Robert said, Manny, easily. So yeah, I think these stocks can 3x. Is Bitcoin going to 3x?
I think that's going to be easily too.
I think the stocks will 3x faster than Bitcoin will 3x, but I think inevitably Bitcoin is ultimately going to do a lot more than 3x in my opinion. Bitcoin is out of, this is typical. Bitcoin falls out of favor. And you know what? People get exhaustion. You can't be in and that's why they talk about crypto winters. Now, I don't think we're going to have a full-blown crypto winter. I'm on record. We hit 60,000 I called the bottom at that point. I will be surprised if we retest it, but I will not be shocked. And I will tell you, I will be a lot less shocked today than I was a week ago, because this 1, 2, 3, and now 4 days really changed the trajectory from where we were going with these 3 green days in a row. This whole period of consolidation, from a technical standpoint, there was fairly good reason to be optimistic, but this went in the other direction. So not the end of the world, but I would have gotten nervous if we've got some, I should put a line, somewhere around 70,800. We've got a little bit of support here. And then under that is 69,000. If we were to take those out, then I do think we retest 60. So, I mean, that's not crazy time. That we're not that far away from those numbers. So I understand that there is the potential. And if we look, this was February 6th. So February 5th was this day I told you about that was madness. And we started low on February 6th and then had a huge, I think this is the biggest green candle from a dollar standpoint in the history of Bitcoin. And I think this is the biggest red candle in the history of Bitcoin. Again, from a dollar standpoint, not necessarily as a percentage. So I think that was the washout. You can see we retested 60,000 almost perfectly. I think we got to $60,001. $60,001. That's where we bounced off of. So there was obviously a buying wall at 60,000, where I think there still would be in the off chance we get back there. But I hear a lot of people talking about 50,000 or below 50,000. So probably best to ask that first.
Do-do-do-do. Sal, will we ever change your opinion on turd farms? I mean, Keel?
I think he's pretty pot committed on that position. And I'll tell you, some of this is just narrative. The narrative around that company has changed dramatically, and it's made a monumental difference. So this run to 5, nobody can say that I was surprised about that. I was calling it every stream. From here, my confidence goes down. From $5 to $7.50 to $10. I do think there's a really good chance it makes that run, but I'm significantly less confident about that portion of the program than I was about getting to $5. The first thing it has to prove is that it's at $5, above $5, and it's there to stay. If it can prove that for a short, reasonable period of time, there are a massive amount of funds in the United States that, even though this is arbitrary because stock price has nothing to do with market cap or size of company, it's kind of a hangover just from way back when. There's a lot of funds that will not invest in a stock under $5, period. It's in their bylaws. It's not a law. It's just a rule for their fund, and they won't do it. So, it's not good enough just to get to $5.01. You got to prove to those funds we're a $5 plus stock. And you do that by maintaining yourself over $5 for some period of time. Then I think you get the next group of investors that comes into Keel. So I do think if they can sustain this $5 for 30 or 60 days, I think you will see a run to $7.50 or $10. And then my conviction drops dramatically. From $10 forward is all going to be gravy, in my opinion. And it's going to depend on their execution. It's going to depend on deals that they announce. So, we'll know more as time goes by. If they announce the next big deal, like Hive did just last week, Hive was almost out of the game. And then, boom, out of left field, they get a 320 megawatt deal, and they're in the AI conversation, and their stock skyrocketed off of that. They were up 51% in 1 week off of that news. So Bitfarms could do the same thing. Keel could do the same thing. Sarmon Gaming said, IREN overvalued at 60. Y'all crazy. Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, I think 75 is a super short-term price target, in my opinion. I don't know how long it takes to get to 100 from there. I don't care if it's the rest of the year. If we're at 100 at the end of the year, I'm a happy camper. And I'm going to think long and hard at 75 to maybe sell that first piece.
Do you think we should add other data centers into our...
There's probably 2 or 3 companies that are kind of peers to these companies now that maybe we want to add.
Because I'm reading about one right now that's going down the street from me.
Oh, really?
Because it's called the Northern Data Group.
I don't know those guys. Are they public or private?
Miscellaneous during the best in class. I don't know yet. I would think they would be Frankfurt, Germany.
And Pogo said, thank goodness the miners pivoted to HPS, or there would be 5 people on this call, and all these stocks would be 80% lower. There's no question.
Everybody would have jumped up.
We would have either all been in a world of pain or out of these stocks. With the mining economics, and we've been talking about it all year, the mining economics for Bitcoin, it's almost bizarre, and it's fixing itself. I will let everybody know. I think you're going to be surprised. Sometime in the next whatever it is, and I think it's going to be the next 90 days, people are going to realize, here, I'm going to go to a chart.
They're traded in DE, so I guess they're just only traded over in Germany. Is that DE?
I don't know.
DE.
Okay, so this doesn't matter. We're just at the beginning of a new We're at 138 trillion on the difficulty level. 138 trillion what? It doesn't matter. It just matters relatively speaking. We got up to just about 156 trillion on the difficulty level back in November of 2025. This 138, just under 139, this takes you back somewhere between September and October, at the beginning of October, or actually the end of September of last year. So we're like 9 months later with the difficulty level going down. And you're going to see this is the outlier in the history of this chart. If I go to a 3-year, this thing just goes up, up, up. And what happened is this year was unreasonable. When it went in July of 2025, it was 117 trillion. In November of 2025, it was 155 trillion. And let me go back to October. So when Bitcoin hit its all-time high, it was at about 150 trillion. We are $50,000+ off of Bitcoin's all-time high. For all this period right here, for November, December, January, and then we had a giant pop down and right back up into March. For all of those months, the difficulty level being very near an all-time high, double what it was a year and a half ago. And in the middle, remember, the reward gets cut in half by the halving. Now you're getting half the reward. The fees were way down. The difficulty level was way up. It became very difficult to mine Bitcoin at a profit. So the reason the difficulty level is down over the last 9 months is because not only are people not adding new machines to the global network, a lot of machines are being decommissioned because they're just not profitable. The publicly traded companies that we follow have some unbelievably efficient fleets, but that is because they were able to raise massive amounts of money, vertically integrate, have their own power. But if you're John Q. Public plugging in an ASIC miner, you got no shot of breaking. Well, I can't say no shot. There's always that 1 in a million that you mine a block, but you're in the economics don't work. It hardly works for the efficient companies. So having said that, we're now 9 months into the difficulty going down instead of 9 more months of it going up. So instead of it being at 200 right now, it's at 139. And if Bitcoin can run back up, right, the next bull market that Bitcoin has, and that's the question, is that now? Is that 6 months from now? A lot of people think that's not going to start until October. And if it doesn't start until October, then the Bitcoin mining economics is not going to be good, between now and then. So, in any event,
this is interesting to read about this data center that's going in.
The one that's going in near you?
Huh? Yeah. First of all, they just pulled a double since the beginning of April to now, by the way.
That company?
Yeah, the Northern Data Group. I listed them for you guys. If, because Poland and you guys trade in Germany, but they got 120 megawatts, and they have a capacity to expand to 180, and they're going to be fully operational the first quarter of 27. So this is huge.
Yeah, I mean, and fully operational in early 2027 might sound like a far away, but this is the problem. And this is why everyone's like, oh, well, it doesn't matter because everybody will just build a data center. Well, good luck for several reasons. Number one, you got to find the land and a hookup to existing power. Number two, you got to go through local, state, potentially federal regulations to get approved. Even if you get approved, that process is lengthy. And then you got to put a shovel in the ground. and start digging to build a data center. You're 3-4 years away from a data center if you decide to go as hard as you can right now.
They purchased a 300 megawatt data center in Corpus Christi. They also are in another construction of a 30 megawatt in Grand Forks, North Dakota. And they also just acquired a Pennsylvania data center. So these people got money.
Yeah, if they got, and that's what it's all about, because it takes money. You know, a lot of these companies, some of the other AI type companies, I want to talk about Micron and AMD. Micron in specific is one of the ones we talked about on this channel. So I'm going to show you what our entry point was for those who chose to, you know, check it out and join in. And it was tough because that moved at warp speed. But I actually am going to tell you, I think there's still massive room to the upside on Microns.
This company is only valued at $1 billion. They just pulled a double from 4.8. April 4.8. And dude, I can't even imagine with that type of freaking power under there.
Well, that's like your Hive.
No, this kills Hive.
No, Hive's only $1 billion.
No. But the megawatts, they have 500 megawatts basically.
Yeah, Hive's got 320 on the new deal, and I don't know how much of what they had before is convertible. They don't, so I'm not sure, but they're probably fairly similar.
Well, dude, that's crazy. Well, Hive's over $1 billion now.
Is it?
Let's see. Yeah, let's see.
Not much.
No, they're over it. I don't know how much. At least.
And Pogo's asking, do you think any of these miners will do a stock split? So I think they're way too low to do a stock split right now. That would be great, but that's a couple of, you know, if they 10x over the next 2, 3, 4 years, then they could do a stock split. But, you know, I think where's Hut at? So to your point, George, this was from the opening moments of the stream. You said you were shocked when you took a look at Hut. It's just under $125. Now,
there it is.
To put that in perspective, everybody, 99% of you know this, but I'm going to say it anyway. Just because the stock is the most expensive doesn't mean it's the biggest company. IREN at $63.54 is a much bigger company. So I'm going to show you guys that right now, if I can.
And this company, it's traded in the euros, and so it's only $850 million. So there's an opportunity right there.
Yeah, that sounds like an opportunity.
And to see it, and to see the construction, that's the other part. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But they started this back in November 4th of 2024. Isn't that crazy? That's when they put a press release out that they were building a data center in Maysville, Georgia.
I mean, you can do a drive-by and see where they are infrastructure-wise.
No, but my whole point is, this is 24. It's 2 years ago.
Right, and they're hoping to get going in 27. This is what I'm talking about. You can't just... The companies that we're investing in already have a 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 year head start over the rest of the world. So 5 years from now, might somebody start competing with them? The reality is, in the middle, the biggest bottleneck in AI by a mile is data centers and power. So people are desperate for this. These guys will get deals. And then, you know, the question is going to become, and I hear people talking about this already, which is madness. Someday we're going to ask ourselves, did we overbuild? Right? Because everybody's so hyped up to build data centers. Someday we're going to ask ourselves, did we overbuild? But That day is not this. It's not 2026. It's not 2027. It's not 2020. Most of these things don't even start coming online until 2028, 2030. So we don't even have a shot of being overbuilt for the next 5 years, which is why I think there's a long runway for these companies to keep going. So like everything, maybe 10 years from now, we go, man, but is it really that bad if we overbuilt power infrastructure? Because, our grid in the United States is very old. So it's not going to go to waste one way or the other, is what I would say. So HUD 8 right now is a $14 billion market cap, which is massive. That's one of the biggest out of all of what used to be the Bitcoin miners, now are the data center companies. Other than a couple that we need to add, a couple of the biggest ones are not on our list, and it's because they were never Bitcoin miners. But I want to compare that to IREN, which is trading at half the price. But you'll see IREN's at almost a $23 billion market cap. And again, this is a $22.7 billion market cap. They were as low as under $100 million at one point 3 years ago. So this is a monumental, I think they've 60x'd their market cap, something like that. I mean, it's just astronomical. And this is the biggest company. But if you look at some of these where I think there's a lot, can we triple from here? I look at a company like CleanSpark at $4.5 billion. CleanSpark's got 1.8 gigawatts of power under their under control. And that puts them in the game with any of these guys. Yet they're a third or a fourth of the price of some of these. Marathon, which was the biggest by market cap for years and years and years, is now only a $5.4 billion market cap. It's one of the smallest. So I know a lot of people don't like Marathon, but whether you like them or don't like them, or you like Fred or don't like Fred, or over at CleanSpark, maybe you like Matt or you don't like Matt, what matters is how much data centers are they going to have in megawatts up and running, and how fast can they do it? Because that's going to be their growth trajectory. And I'm going to go look at what these guys are doing, and this is where things are going to change. If you look, and you'll see losing money. So it's not so much about the money. And these numbers are very small because the data centers aren't going to be up. So $907 million in sales a year ago. Analysts are expecting $811 million this year, $954 million next year. That looks like an awful company on paper. Minus 10% and then pops up to 17%. But all that does, it just get back to where you were the year before. The question is, in 2028, they have data centers coming online. This could pop up to $3 billion in 2028. So if 2028 is going to be $3 billion, 2029 is going to be $5 billion, et cetera, that's what you got to look at. And the market's not going to wait to price that in. Now, they're in last place because they were very late to the party. While companies like IREN have been doing this for years, and TeraWulf is multiple years in and several deals in. Marathon just threw their hat in the ring. Hive just threw their hat in the ring. CleanSpark was one of the last to jump onto the bandwagon. So some of those companies, but if you look at a CleanSpark, so what's going to happen, the other thing that's going to happen is those estimates I just showed you, as deal flow begins, there's no deal flow built into these numbers. So if you look here, CleanSpark on paper, $766 million of revenue last year. They're expecting $642 million this year. They're expecting $750 million next year. That's all on Bitcoin mining. None of that is data center high performance computing. So what happens if they get, a $3 billion or a $6 billion or a $10 billion contract? Now, These contracts are usually those type of numbers, but they're also usually over 5 or 10 or 15 years. But what that does is you just proved out your revenue for the next maybe 15 years. Also, you just doubled your revenue estimate. Probably for the year, I would say by the end of the year 2027, if CleanSpark isn't at a several $billion annual run rate, then they have failed to do what they should have done. And right now it's being priced at $750 million top line. This is being priced once again as a company that's going to go down 16%, up 16%, and just get back to where they started. But that's not what's going to happen in reality if they execute. So it all becomes about execution. If this 750 turns into, 1.8 billion, and they're with a $3 billion annual run rate, all of a sudden everyone's going to go, okay. And all that takes is one deal. And that's why that cracking the ice, getting that first deal has put companies like you saw IREN over $20 billion. You saw HUT at $14 billion. A couple other companies that have deal flow. TeraWulf's at $12.5 billion. And a company that I think has more room to grow. I got into TeraWulf and CIFR. Those I got in very late on those, and yet still I'm up over 100%. Having said that, I think there's a lot of room to run. This is $9.67 billion. These guys have big plans, and they already have contracts. Now, they've gone up dramatically. Right, they're up 600, and this doesn't even seem right. 600 over 1 year. Yes, that's not year to date. They're up 60%. Over the last 1 year, 12 months, they're up 627%. So that sounds like a stock that's overheated and not time to buy. But I'm just saying, I'm not buying at this moment. But if there's a pullback, and if I don't think they're anywhere near their price target. For me personally, the price target that I have for this company. So there's going to be a lot of growth ahead in these companies unless they fail. And there's just really, it's all about execution. There's absolutely no reason for these companies to fail. If you just got here, or if you haven't yet, if you could smash the like button, we would really appreciate it. If you like the channel, if you enjoy the content, you can also subscribe to the channel. It is free to do. George, where are we at on likes?
84, Tom. 84.
All right, 84 likes. We're trucking along. Where is the bottom for Bitcoin going forwards? So from this point forward, here's where this poll went. In first place, 60,000. 40% of you think we're going to retest 60,000, and that's not crazy talk, right? We just looked at the chart. I don't think we're going to do that, but nobody can be surprised if we go do that. And I will tell you this, if we retest 60,000, I will buy more Bitcoin. So that's my number. I'm not buying any more of any of these Bitcoin miners / data center stocks because they make up an unbelievably huge percent of my portfolio. Between those, my holdings in Bitcoin, and then companies like Microstrategy or Strategy that are really a direct play on Bitcoin, all that put together makes up a disproportionate amount of my portfolio, which is why I've sold off 6 or 7% of a bunch of them and moved a bunch of that into some new stocks. Some of it's on the sideline. And, it would take Bitcoin going down to 60. But I do think if Bitcoin's at 60, that's going to be very hard to pass up. In second place, and this is pretty close, 31% of you think we are going to hold 70,000. We're a couple of $1,000 above that. We were in deep danger of going under that a couple of days ago, and I called it an emergency. Wasn't really a tweet. an emergency social media posting. The president came out. Let me see. I think I have this somewhere. Here. Donald J. Trump. And let's not get political. I don't really care if you like him or hate him, and it's probably one or the other because that's where most people are at. He is the sitting president, and you know what he says can move markets. And in this instance, I think somebody in his inner circle told him, time to go out there and say something, or we're about to cross a line on Bitcoin that could mean bad things ahead. So Gary Gensler and the, quote, anti-crypto army nearly destroyed the American crypto industry by driving Bitcoin, crypto, perpetuals, and innovation offshore. But, quote, Trump saved it. America is now the crypto capital of the world, and builders and entrepreneurs are coming back to the United States where they belong. Under my leadership, we will codify a future-proof digital asset market structure that cannot be undone by the crypto haters. The new frontier of finance is being built in America, and Trump will never let crypto down. President Donald J. Trump. So, for whatever it's worth, this kind of marked the bottom, and this came out at a time where I was looking at the charts going, we got only just a very, very little bit of room left before we break some lines that I think we're going to, I will turn short-term bearish. And it's still a coin toss, in my opinion, as is shown by a lot of you guys that think we're going down to 60. 24% of you think we're going down to $50,000, and 4% of you think we're going down to $40,000. So, there is a lot of still potential to the downside, but this to me is a sign of just how poorly things were going for Bitcoin, that the president had to put this social media post out there in an effort to kind of remind people, hey, Bitcoin's still here, and Again,
a second, Tom. Vicky, I'm sorry. I did that by accident. I was trying to open up the poll and I screwed up, and I'm so sorry. But I didn't mean to do that, and I'm trying to fix it. I apologize.
What happened?
I hit Vic Holmes. I just landed on it, and how you're trying to click.
Oh, it's deleted.
I delete. Yeah, I put it in
I see it now.
Yeah.
Well, if you remember it, Vic, you can just repost it. I think once you've done that, George, I don't know if you can get it back, but
I don't know. It just says what's Rex's position at CleanSpark. I can tell you what his position is. He is a strategic analyst.
Strategery,
right.
And Tony's a big believer. 50 thumbs up for Hive. We got a lot of people back in the game on Hive.
Yeah, it's nice to see.
And Hive has done very well recently. With that said, let's go look at what all the Bitcoin miners did before we get to the rest of this list. And there's a bunch of other stuff. Let's take a look at what the Bitcoin I'm still calling them the Bitcoin miners. I understand these are mostly now data center companies, power companies. For lack of a better word, let's look at what the companies did this week. Okay, so starting with this week, first of all, in the United States, there was only 4 days of trading this week. Bitcoin trades 24/7, as you all know. But the stock market was closed on Monday in the United States. Excuse me. So, in 4 days, what we have here is a very strong week for the stocks, for the equities. Bitcoin was down 3%. And we can see Wednesday, Thursday, and now Friday are red. So Friday could go either way depending on how it closes. It's very close. But Wednesday and Thursday were red. That put Bitcoin in the red. It's down 3% this week. Everything beat that. Almost everything beat that substantially. So, as has been the case for some time, the recent trend, especially in the month of May, Microstrategy, which we know they're not a data center company, they're not a Bitcoin mining company. They are the Bitcoin treasury company. And that does not mean that they're the only one in the world. What it means is they have 20 or 30 or 40 times as much Bitcoin as anybody else in the world that's doing this as a publicly traded corporation. They are the number one holder of Bitcoin with 800, and let's go just take a look. They now have 843,738 Bitcoin. So I'm just going to talk about them for just a second. They did not buy any Bitcoin this week, so that is rare. Last week, the week ended 5/18, they bought 24,869. That was, I think, the fourth biggest purchase they've ever had in 1 week. So that was actually 2 weeks ago. They announced, the following week, they announced what they did last week. So what they did last week was they paid off about, I think it was $1.5 billion in convertible debt that was due in 2029. And they used some of their cash to do that. They used some of their other preferred stock to do that. And so as a result of that, everything being used to allocate it to that, they didn't buy any Bitcoin. But I would expect them to continue to pick up next week where they left off. And, they're closing in on it's fairly reasonable to assume they're going to have 1 million Bitcoin by the end of 2026. Obviously, that's not for sure, but they're certainly tracking towards that easily right now. So, but if we go back to the charts, you'll see they were down 1%. So they've been kind of doing what Bitcoin's doing. And again, that's who they are. There is an underlying company that's immaterial versus their market cap. They're a Bitcoin treasury company. So they actually finished in the red. ABTC, which is now the only pure play Bitcoin mining company, up 2%. That's by far the worst. Marathon, up 4%. So, it's not last place, but it kind of feels like last place. Marathon, not a great week for Marathon. And then Core Scientific 6, CIFR 8. And then we go, Riot was up 11% this week. Hive was up 11. These are double-digit moves on a week where Bitcoin's down 3%. And I understand a lot of these don't really correlate to Bitcoin anymore. 11% for Riot, 11% for Hive, 12% for IREN. And remember, with IREN at 12% as a $22 billion company, 12% in 1 week is a very big move. TeraWolf, 12% this week. Then you get CleanSpark, 15%. HUT, 18%. Keel, a.k.a. formerly known as Bitfarms, up 18% this week. BitDR, up 19%. I saw a few people asking, why did BitDR take off this week? I have an anecdotal answer to that. So there was no news. There was nothing specific this week. But I will tell you, somebody that I know personally, it's not George, has a pretty big position in BitDR. And 2 days ago, they called me up and said, I'm selling all my BitDR. I'm sick of it. I cannot take it anymore. And I kind of talked them off a ledge, and I said, it's your decision in the end. But
I know who it is.
They've been lagging behind, and I would just leave it. If it was me, I would leave it alone. I've said my 2 cents. You do what you're going to do. Well, they held it, and then bang, the next day it was up drastically. So my answer is it was overdue for a move, and it never ceases to amaze me. These experts, big money. You think my buddy was the only one asking, is it time to dump all my BitDR? It's a science for them. It's stunning. So I just, and by the way, to me, they're still crazy undervalued. So that's a nice move for BitDeer. I think it's going to continue. They're very undervalued, in my opinion. So obviously not financial advice. All these stocks, the other thing we like to remind everybody here, for those, especially if you're new to these types of stocks or this sector, there is mind-boggling volatility here. Now, I know the whole market, despite the fact the VIX looks like it's normal, the market's insane now. We get in crazy moves all the time now. Sometimes on large cap or mega cap companies, we get 10, 15, 20% moves in a day, sometimes more. But these are very, very volatile companies. So if you can't stomach that, right, this is a great week. BitDeer up 19%, Keel up 18%, Hut up 18%. But if you can't stomach a week some point in the future where those are down 15, 18, 20%, then this is not the place for you, because it does happen. There's big pullbacks even during huge bull runs. So I think it's fair to say that.
Yeah, this is not a fun game, Tom. I'm not gonna. Investing is hard.
It's brutal, and it's getting harder. It's the concentration of wealth continues, and big money is now trading in a lot of different ways, and the algorithms are taking over. But I'm just going to say something that I believe. At the moment, if you take a few steps back, if you remove your emotion, which is easier said than done, is the understatement of the year. It's so hard when it's your money. I know everybody worked very hard to get every penny that they have. And when you put it at risk, it's very emotional. But when you make decisions with it, you've got to find a way to strip the emotions out of it. And if you look at what's going on in the market, I have found the last 6 months to be the easiest trading so far, lifetime to date. Now, there have been a couple other times inside of a bubble. And again, I don't believe we're in a bubble. And I'll explain exactly why. And there's hard statistics to show that we're not in anything that resembles what we have called a bubble in the past. We're in a massive run-up. But let's put it this way. We hit a new all-time high yesterday on the S&P 500 and on the NASDAQ. We hit a new all-time high today on the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ. Having said that, their forward PE is less today than it was at the beginning of the year. What's happening is earnings reports are coming out. All the big companies, and remember, there's a consolidation of enormous, I don't even know, we just call them mega cap. Is there a word bigger than that? When you're $3, $4, $5 trillion company and you announce earnings, you beat on revenue, you beat on income, and you raise your forecast for earnings. Guess what happens? Now the whole S&P 500's actually, their forward earnings goes down because you just raised your estimates. Well, that's happening time after time after time after time. Beat the top line, beat the bottom line, raise estimates. Actually, companies that are doing, NVIDIA did that, and they were down 1% on the day, because that's now the minimum expectation from everything in the AI supply chain. They're going to beat the top line, they're going to beat the bottom line, and they're going to raise estimates. So, and the reality is, most of them are doing that. So, are we in a bubble? Can you say we're in a bubble when our forward PE is actually going down? And I like to go back. I showed this chart. I think it may have been to members only, but it may have been to everybody. The PE ratios during the dot-com bubble, the NASDAQ was trading somewhere between 100 and 200 price earnings, but that's even misleading because the majority of the companies in the NASDAQ weren't making any money. There is no PE when you lose money, right? There were companies with zero revenue, $1 billion loss, and they were $100 billion market cap, and they had 20x'd. That's a bubble. These companies, put it in perspective, Micron, stock ticker MU, everybody's panicking that they are in a bubble. And I understand because they've gone up recently, and I'm going to show you where we got in on this stock. They went up recently astronomically. But the thing is, they're forecasting profits, net income of over $100 billion next year. Not revenue, net income. That's 3 times what their revenue was 2 years ago. So their bottom line is going to be 3 times what their top line was. Now, everyone will say, well, but their margins are through the roof. They can't sustain that forever. That's unsustainable. Okay, I will grant you, they have the highest margins of any company right now in the S&P 500. But I would ask you this. Let's say that comes back down, right? To margins, let's say it cuts in half. Let's say they get away with this for 2 or 3 years because there is a bottleneck. There's 3 companies that make the chip that Micron makes. And I'm just going to take a quick time out and show you something. Those 3 companies are Micron, now over $1 trillion, the 13th biggest company in the world, SK Hynix, the 12th biggest company in the world, and Samsung, the 11th biggest company in the world. 1, 2, 3. There is no other company on this earth that makes the memory chip that these guys make that's necessary for every single high-performance computing AI chip that NVIDIA makes, that anybody makes. So it's a specific type of memory. These 3 companies make them, and these 3 companies just became the 11th, 12th, and 13th biggest company in the world. Micron's getting backed by the U.S. government. I would expect them to pass SK Hynix and Samsung, and who knows who else, how high they can go. But again, they're earning more money than Tesla doesn't make $100 billion of net income a year. I don't know what Saudi Aramco does. Broadcom doesn't. TSMC doesn't. Amazon doesn't. I mean, so you'll say, okay, you know what? Maybe their margins are going to go down in the future. Well, if their margins cut in half, which may be, 3 years from now, 4 years from now, 5 years from now, that may be the natural order of things. That will still make them one of the highest margin companies in the stock market. So companies that have those metrics right now are trading at 30 or 40 or 50 or sometimes 100 PE, forward PE. Micron has gone up on the mother of all runs to get all the way up to a 10 forward PE. So this is being priced, it's still being priced to fail. So you can't say, well, their margins are going to get worse. Yeah, that's priced in. You won't find a tech company, their peers are at anywhere from 30 to 150 PE. They're at 10. So I think there's massive upside for this company. Is it going to last forever? No, nothing lasts forever, but we're not nearing the end of this cycle. We're at the very beginning of it. Anyway, back to the list.
Back to the list time. We got to 100.
Nice. Thank you, everybody. Much appreciated. 100 likes. We're going for 150, but 100's a big goal. Much appreciated. I see a lot of thumbs up going on in the comments section. Okay, so this was week to date. I want to go to month to date because the month is now over for the stocks. Obviously, Bitcoin's got a couple of days left and it's got some work to do. But this is May. This is what happened in May. So once again, you will see Bitcoin down 4%. Bitcoin is down. Now, Bitcoin is not done. It has 2 days left of trading. Everything else on this list is done. Microstrategy down 4%. That's 1-to-1 with Bitcoin. It's not a shocking outcome. ABTC, the only remaining pure Bitcoin miner, down 2%. Okay, 2 of them in the red. From there, I'm going to go to the other side. Hive, which a lot of people are talking about in the comments, particularly Tony's giving 100 thumbs up to Hive. Hive was up 88% in May. That's staggering. Now, it seems like that's the runaway winner, but Keel was up 87% in May, a virtual tie for first place. Ironically, these are the two of the oldest Bitcoin miners, Keel being formerly Bitfarms. They were both Canadian companies. They both moved to the U.S. from a domicile standpoint. There is a big difference. Keel is conducting 100% of its business in the U.S. They may still have a little bit in Canada. Hive is not. I don't know that Hive does any of their business in the United States. They're our U.S. company now. They're domiciled in the U.S., but they do business in various places around the world, and that's fine. It's all about cheap power, wherever you can get it in a safe place on a consistent basis. So you've got two stocks that almost doubled in the month of May in Hive and Keel. Those are big, big moves up. But let's not undershadow HUT, up 65%. Riot, up 57%. BitDeer, 55%. Cleanspark, 46%. IREN, 40%. And remember, IREN's a $22.5 billion company, was up 40%. Core Scientific, 34%. CIFR, 33%. Bringing up the rear, Marathon at 20%. And I think you're going to find later, TeraWulf at 18%. But TeraWulf is taking a breath. It's still one of the leaders on the year, but it was so far out ahead of everybody. It caught its breath for a month. I think you can expect it to continue to run next month. We should have a new poll, George.
Don't let me do it. I'll screw it all up.
Don't let you do it.
Yeah. Get somebody else mad at me.
We don't want that. All right, so let's go to year to date. I'm going to just do a quick poll. Give me 10 seconds, guys, and I will have this typed in. I think we're going to have to do a round robin on this one. Okay. I only gave you 4 choices because it only lets me give you 4 choices. So we're going to do a couple of these, and then we'll do a runoff and see who the overall winner is. Which stock is the most undervalued today? So the first 4 are Hive, CleanSpark, CIFR, and Riot. Out of those 4, and then we'll do the next 4 after this. Which one do we think is the most undervalued? And again, we'll do the next 4, and then the next 4, and then we'll do a runoff to see who you guys think is the number 1 most undervalued stock. Okay, so I'm going to go to year to date now. So this is year to date. Bitcoin's down 16% this year. So this has not been a great year so far for Bitcoin. We all know we're 8 or 9 months now into a bear market for Bitcoin. Some of us think it's going to last, right? I will just tell you, the conventional wisdom that's out there, if you're listening to the masses, the conventional wisdom is this is going to last until October. So you're going to hear that repeatedly. That may very well be the case for all I know. I don't think so. I don't believe that. I think by October we're going to be over 100. But I think I'm in the minority on that. And only time will tell. we will see. But so far, we're down 16%. ABTC is down more than double that, 34% for the year. So this came out of the gates, and it was overpriced beyond belief. We talked about it on this channel that, there was a big crash coming for this. Well, I think it's had its crash. To me, in my opinion, this is now reasonably valued. When it was an $8 billion market cap, there was just no sense to that. They were roughly the size of Hive, which at the time was a $500 million market cap, and they were an $8 billion market cap. So didn't make sense. I think it's corrected, but this is the remnants of that. MicroStrategy only up 5%, so it's going to be tough for MicroStrategy to move, given Bitcoin down 16%. This is a pure, as pure a play on Bitcoin as you can get other than owning Bitcoin. But then once we get into the Bitcoin/data centers, I'm going to go to the other side. HUT up 172%. That is the winner on the year. That's the one George talked about at the beginning of this stream. That's the most expensive stock at $125 around about. It's not the biggest market cap. I think it may be the second biggest, though. Keel's up 142% this year. TeraWulf 122% this year. So you remember TeraWulf was a little bit of a lagger, but it's still in May. But it's still in third place for the year. So it's having a huge year. Riot's up 114. These are the ones that have more than doubled this year. You got to count that as a win. Whatever you were hoping, a double is great. A triple's better. A quadruple's better than that. And there's a lot of year left. So right now, step one, let's hold on to our gains and let's see if we can take it to the next level. Core Scientific up 84%. CleanSpark up 81%. Hive up 75%. Almost all of which was this month. They were red last month. So they had a big announcement, and that flipped them dramatically. IREN up 68% this year. And again, as the largest market cap from a dollar standpoint, that's massive. CIFR 60%, Marathon 60%. Marathon feels like a company that has been stuck in the mud and has done absolutely nothing. But the reality is it's up 60% this year. Now, I know if you look in the AI, you're going to see stocks up 500%, 3,000%. I get it. But
I got to sneak out.
All right, George, thank you so much. Enjoy your weekend. Any parting thoughts?
Thanks, everybody. No, I think Bitcoin's going to take off, but I don't think it's going to stay there. I think it's going to get a 3 month. I think we're going to get the 3 months looking like it's going to be a breakout, but it's going to be a fake out.
All right.
See you guys.
That's it from George. Have a great weekend. All right. So, and then you've got BitDeer, which we just talked about. It's been so sideways for so long that, people were dumping it. Well, it's up 56% this year. Yeah, that's not 172. I get it, but, that's not bad. And I think some of these are picking up. I expect them to pick up momentum. We'll see what happens. And again, these can be very volatile. We could have a bad month. For instance, this was March. Ironically, BitDeer had a good month in March. Bitcoin was up, and everything else got crushed. So just remember, when you look at May, and it's awesome, and this was awesome, we've paid a lot of dues to get to this point. But you add it all up, put it together, and the year to date is looking excellent so far. So 5 months in, so far, so good. Let's hope the next 7 can keep it up. All right, we have 2 easy winners on this one, so I'm going to do the next 5. I'm going to end this poll, just quickly put the next one up. And now we're going to go Give me 10 seconds, guys. All right, here's 4 more coming at you. Which one of these do you think is the most undervalued? We got Hut, Marathon, BitDeer, and TerraWolf. Let's see which one we think is the most undervalued. Okay. All right, so this is year to date. So that's what these companies have done so far this year. Let's move on because we got some more stuff. Okay, just a note, Hive will be announcing earnings next week. So we talked a lot about Hive. They had a huge announcement last week. They had a big month of May. They're announcing their earnings next week. I don't know what they're going to be able to tell us on their earnings that's going to move the stock meaningfully. So I would be surprised if there's any big news there, but you never know. So we'll have to wait for the announcement. BitDeer did swap out CFOs. I do not believe that was in any way, shape, or form the catalyst for the move in BitDeer. According to their press release, if we look at it, let me... Change of Chief Financial Officer. BitDeer Technologies... So Mr. Liu has tendered his resignation as the Chief Financial Officer of BitDeer Technologies effective June 30th. So 1 more month. Mr. Liu's resignation was due to personal reasons and was not the result of any dispute or disagreements with the company on any matter relating to the company's operations, policies, or practices. Mr. Liu will continue to serve as Chief Financial Officer through June 30th. To ensure an orderly transition, after which Mr. Liu will remain with the company in the role of principal advisor. So this person's not leaving, but they're not going to be the CFO anymore. So Mr. Michael G. Potter is named the new Chief Financial Officer. So you can look into him. Again, I don't think this is... A change out as CFO is not moving the stock, in my opinion, but you never know. Okay, so let's go to... All right, I want to go through situational awareness. And let me see if I can find the article on this. Just a second. Uh-oh. I don't know if I'm losing you guys. It said everybody's gone as of right now. Let me know in the comments if anybody's there. It says everybody's gone. I'm going to wait for it. Drop in the comments if you are here. In the chat, just drop in the chat. Sorry if you're not here. I don't know. Something has gone on. It says that I'm live. It says that I am running live. Pogo is here. But it says viewers 0. Okay, so some people are still here. Maybe it's just my dashboard. It just fell off a cliff. It went from 100 and something to 24 to 0. So I don't know why that's happening. It's not registering any viewers, but I'm going to keep going. I'm going to assume you guys are here. So it's showing you guys that 55 people are watching. It's showing me that 0 people are watching. It was something happened because it was just 104 2 minutes ago, but that's okay. What is this gentleman's name? Drop it in the comments if you know. Otherwise, I'm going to have to continue looking for it because I can never remember his name. Okay, so we will get back to you on the name. But this is a trader that has gotten a lot of recent fame. Thank you guys all for letting me know that you're here. I don't know what my analytics are doing, but it just instantly showed me that everybody was gone. I won't belabor it. So again, drop in the Leopold something. So drop in the comments if you know the rest of this person's name. He trades in a company called Situational Awareness Portfolio Holdings. He famously turned, I don't remember, it was $50 or $100 million into like $5 billion in a short period of time. He got into SanDisk, Bloom. He got into all the stocks that 1000x or 2000x or 3000x in a short period of time. So, like, in this window of time, there's never been a fund that's ever done anything like what this fund did. So, yes, I know. I wish I could remember. I will get it. But what I wanted to show you guys is Situational Awareness Top 100 Holding Heat Map. So if you look at this heat map, the biggest holding is BE, Bloom Energy. Okay, that's not in our world, but it's 1000x. The next biggest holding is SanDisk. That's like 4,000 or 5,000x. So this guy picked some winners. And by the way, he got them at the absolute beginning. He caught the entire run up in all of these stocks. CoreWeave. This actually is in our wheelhouse. We look at Core Scientific, CoreWeave, and Core Scientific were going to merge, right? CoreWeave was going to buy Core Scientific. Thank you, Leopold Aschenbrenner. Thank you, Gorilla. That is correct. So the Core Scientific shareholders decided, you know what? No thanks. We'll go it on our own. And I think it's probably going to work out just fine for both of those companies. But look who's next. So this is the heat map. This is the fourth biggest position. IREN is his fourth biggest position. Core Scientific, fifth biggest. Applied Digital, we don't talk about this one. This is one that maybe I need to add to the list because this is in our space. RIOT, CleanSpark, Bitfarms. Now, he had to put this out March 31st. If you're wondering why it says Bitfarms and not Keel, on March 31st, it was still Bitfarms. The next day, on April 1st, it turned into Keel. But Bitfarms is on near the BTDR. I mean, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of the companies on our list. This person who at the moment is the investor extraordinaire. And part of the thing is now it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. Everyone's looked at this guy and said, man, he called every single stock to a T. He just 10 or 15x'd his portfolio in 3 quarters. Now you're looking at him. Now people are buying these stocks just because they're on his list. So some of these are going to continue to run up just as a function, and whether that makes sense or not, like, right? I mean, I went off, as I always do on every stream, that you really should not be, and you really cannot effectively borrow somebody else's conviction. This guy has conviction. He thinks these former Bitcoin miners, which are now energy stocks, if you listen to him talk, and you can look him up, thanks Gorilla for putting his full name, he articulates that he thinks the biggest bottleneck in AI is energy. And that is why he is in almost every single one of the stocks that we're talking about. So we're on this, or at least I am, and probably if you're here, you are on the same page as this. So I do think this helps all of these stocks. Now, in the short term, there might be some people that try and some other funds that try and drag this down, but it's just going to take too much money now to play with these. I don't think you're going to see that. And to put it in perspective, find my window here. Companies like SanDisk, right? I don't talk about this anymore. In the last 1 year, 12 months, SanDisk is up 4,291%. Now, I will not buy SanDisk, but in my opinion, this stock is undervalued right now. I know that seems almost inconceivable, but you guys can do your own due diligence and take a look at their sales forecast, their gross profit, their net income, their balance sheet. I really think this stock is going to keep running. It's insanity. It's up you don't see stocks go up 4,000. SanDisk is not a brand new. This wasn't an IPO. This wasn't a nano cap stock. SanDisk's been around for 40 years. All of a sudden, in the last 12 months, in the last 1 year, it's up 4,291%. And the thing is, it should be. So I'll just show you quickly. This went from a $7 billion top line company to just under a $20 billion. So they jumped from $7 billion to $20 billion. And next year, they're going to jump to $42 billion. This is a compound annual growth rate of over 100%. Now, that'll likely go down in the years that follow. But look at this. A year ago, this stock was trading on $3 earnings per share. Okay, so at $3 earnings per share, $90 is a 30 PE. Well, that's jumped to $65 a share. And next year, they're looking at $176 a share of earnings, which means at $1,694, they're less than a 10 forward PE. This is very similar to where Micron is at right now. These stocks have run up in ways that are unimaginable, but how many stocks have you seen in your life? I can tell you, for me, it's one. It's this one. I've never seen a stock go from earnings per share of $2.99 to projected forward earnings of $176 a share. It's truly remarkable. But again, they have a chip. They are a part of the supply chain that AI just does not work without what they do. Western Digital is the same thing. If you go to Western Digital and pull up a 1 year, it's up 910%. 900%. Western Digital is this past year notwithstanding, Western Digital is one of the most boring investment companies of all time. Not to say it's a bad company, just this wasn't on a lot of people's radar. Well, it was on this guy's radar. He pulled a 900% increase on this. He pulled a 4,000% increase on SanDisk. Bloom. This has been on my watch list for 5 years. I do not own it. So I missed a 1,434% run up in the last 12 months. This guy called all of these, and he bought them all at their lows. He was in Bloom for $20. Right? I mean, this is what he did, and that's why people are taking notice and kind of making a big deal out of what he's doing right now. So it is no guarantee. You never know what the future holds, but I don't mind being on the same page as this guy is right now. So that was a lot of our stocks are his top holdings. And so time will tell. We'll check back in on that as the months go on and see how those companies do and see if they outperform. And then Landshark is saying, Tom, as of Wednesday, NBIS is his biggest holding. So there you go. This one, I do feel like, so if you go, this is up 507%. It's not up as much as the other companies. But this one might be, if for me, in my opinion, it's more overheated than the companies that we just went through, the SanDisks and the Microns that I'll show you, and Nibius, a technology company engaged in building full-stack infrastructure to service the global AI industry in the United States, the United Kingdom. It offers, Nibius builds full-stack infrastructure for AI, including large-scale GPU clusters, cloud platforms, and tools and services for developers. So, like, this is in our wheelhouse right here for sure. And it's been on a rampage. But it could keep going. There's no doubt about it. All right. I just want to show you guys a few of the companies that we've talked about on the members only stream. I said I was going to share some of those and a few others. And again, you guys can decide, do these belong on your watch list? Salesforce. They announced earnings yesterday. The market was totally ambivalent to their earnings. It seemed like the market was going to react negatively, but now it's a day later and they were up 8.5% today, but software was up huge today. I will tell you, one of my themes is software as a service. And it's not throw a dart at a board and pick any one. You got to pick the right ones. There are companies that are adjusting. So in a nutshell, and a lot of you guys know this, so if this is review, I apologize, but for those of you who don't, what's happening to a lot of these software companies is right now they have a subscription format, and if a company, the Fortune 500 companies use, the vast majority of them use Salesforce. And the next stock I'm going to show you. And they have a per seat, they pay per subscription, sorry. So, if the thought process was, well, what if they lay off 10,000 people? That's 10,000 less seats. That's going to crush Salesforce. What the smart software as a service companies are in the process of doing, whether they're at the beginning, the middle, or the end, they realize this, they know this, they are integrating AI into their programs, and they're shifting to a transactional basis. So if you get rid of 10,000 employees because you can have AI agents do that work instead, Salesforce is now charging by transaction instead of by the number of people sitting in seats. Now, they have not fully converted to that. They're in the middle of converting to that. They had hyper growth in that portion of their business. And I think this is the future for them. And just so you understand, well, we'll go to their real chart because I have it open. I want to give you some real numbers. So while I'm here, this is the S&P 500. This is the SPY. Yesterday, new all-time high. Today, new all-time high. Same thing with the NASDAQ, but that's not what we're here to look at. Salesforce. From January of 2025. So that's, 16, 17 months ago. Until the bottom, April of 2026, Salesforce was down 55%. A lot of you have probably heard the term SaaSpocalypse. All the software as a service companies are getting destroyed, and it's indiscriminate. The good ones, the bad ones, everything in the middle. Microsoft has gotten taken out on this, which is nuts, in my opinion. I am trying to pick the winners. I have built a pretty nice position in Salesforce. And I'm going to zoom in and show you. Oh, I don't have that on this one. So I got into this. It's not up that much from when I get into. The rest of these I actually have marked on the chart. But I'm into this at like dollar cost averaged in $171. So we've been talking a bit about this on the members only for, since this low. I started buying here. I've bought numerous times in a short window. This is only 6 or 7 weeks, and I've made like 5 purchases on this because it just kept presenting good opportunities, in my opinion. And I think that this is one of the companies that actually got punished. It was down 55% because of AI, but I think it's going to go up. I think AI is going to help this company, and it's going to be more profitable. Their earnings were very good. They were not the best earnings in all of earnings season, but they beat on earnings per share. I think they just about held their forecast, and a lot of people like to see that beat, but I think they beat on revenue, beat on income, and they did not raise their forecast. It was within the same range. So, but it was a very, for a company that's being priced to go out of business. That's a pretty strong. Let's put it this way: this quarter was the most revenue they've ever had in any quarter of the history of their company. That is not a company on its way out of business. That's not a company that should be down 55%. So this is one I've talked about a lot. I feel strongly about it. And this is one that I think there's a lot of room left to run. Yeah, today was a big breakout day, but really, was it? Because, this is the top of the trading range it's been in since March 24th. So, the bottom of that trading range is $162. The top's $193. But remember, this was a $367 company at its peak in 2025. I think there's every chance this could take out that high. It just had an all-time high revenue. So we'll see. Time will tell. But this is one we've talked about on the channel. Super Microcomputers. SMCI. This company was involved in I'm going to call it a scandal. I'm going to go to the better chart to look at this. This makes it more obvious. Look at this gap. This is one day. So if you look from the close on that Thursday to this Friday, it was down 33% in a day. So we called this out. Actually, this was not on a members only stream. This was on a live stream for everybody. We called this at $20.63 on March 20th. And it is now up 123%. And I said on that day, I said, I don't like to say things like this, but sometimes they feel like easy money. And this one just seemed obvious. A few of their high-ranking, high-level of executives were charged and arrested for allegedly, essentially smuggling NVIDIA chips to China. The company, no charges were brought against the company in any way, shape, or form. This did not interrupt the company's business in any way, shape, or form. They are a key part of the AI supply chain. And they went down 33% in one day. Now, I understand that's some kind of shocking news when officers of your company, are in big trouble. But it did present an opportunity. It's already up 123%. So I'm not saying I recommend that today. It's already had a very big run. Wouldn't be surprised to see it run more, but that one's kind of already done its thing. And where is my other one? Let me go. I'm going to go to Micron first. I'm just going to talk about a couple of more here. And I want to talk about some more things because I know we focus on a certain list of stocks, and those stocks are a majority of my portfolio, but I have two other lists of stocks that some I've held for a long time, some I'm now adding to, trying to quickly create big positions. Because the other thing I've learned is this is a different kind of market. My philosophy has always been dollar cost average in. The market will give you opportunities. I feel like I need to reframe what an opportunity is. And this is a perfect example. Micron was up around $820. In the course of a week, it pulled down to $647. Now, here was my problem. I bought it. This was a Tuesday, and we talked about it on the members only stream. I bought Micron on this day and told the members $365.90. So that's my initial purchase of Micron. So on this pullback, I'm going, wait a second. I'm up 80%. Am I really going to start is my first dollar cost average into this going to be up 80%? That feels unreasonable. But I hadn't caught up to what the market is doing to stocks that have been underpriced and that are hot right now. This was the last best buying opportunity until the next one. So I will tell you, I'm not done buying this stock. If we get another one of these, and chances are decent, right? This is very normal. When you have a run-up of 122% in 1 month, you get a little pullback, right? You get a little breather. By the way, it's not like this reset the daily RSI. It got it down to 60. This thing was at 86. So I certainly thought I had a little more time than getting down to 60 on the daily RSI before this stock took off again. But it did take off. Had I bought from there, I'd be up another 50%. So for me, and again, not financial advice, a lot of you may feel like, and I'll show you how much this stock's run up, but if this runs down, if this bounces off of something like 800 or even 850, wherever, I'll probably buy some more, because what I told the members on that day was, when I did my analysis on this, and you can see it bottomed out several days before this. So I was taking a very hard look, and it took me a couple of days. So I did not buy on the very bottom. This is when I was looking hard and crunching the numbers. I felt like this was trading at around $300, and everything I was coming up with was this should be a $2,500 stock. And so I'm thinking to myself, I took several days thinking like, I'm obviously doing something wrong here because there aren't $300 stocks out there that should be $2,500 stocks. My number might be high. Maybe it's, $1,500. I don't know. But guess what? It's already at almost $1,000 a month and a half later. So I wasn't that wrong, but it took me a few days to digest that, because here was my problem. You go, well, why wouldn't you just buy it if you thought that was the case? And ultimately I did, but from April of 2025 until the day I bought this was up 453%. I've very rarely taken opening position in a stock that's up 453%. But welcome to the AI movement. This is what's going on. So you got to adapt to the market that is presenting itself, not the market as you want it to be. So I'm glad I got in at 367. I feel like I missed an opportunity in the mid 600s, and we'll see if an opportunity presents itself. I'm not going to chase it on. I'm not going to buy it at a high. And you know what? If this runs up, for instance, if this runs up to $1,200 and pulls back to 11, I may decide, you know what? That's too late. But I will tell you, in the middle, I think it was UBS, they raised their price target on this stock from $535 to $1,625, I believe. They tripled it. So I'm not the only one who was scratching their head going, what is going on with this stock? So, unfortunately, that came out and caused this next giant run up. So I do think there was more pullback coming here, and I was going to get another opportunity, but I missed it. So it is what it is. But these are the opportunities that are out there. And I think our stocks, while some of them may have done, while some of our stocks, maybe they've done this run, right? Up 200%, or maybe they've done this run, up 480%, but I don't think they've done this run yet, which is up another 165% from here, and I don't think Micron's even close to done, because again, if I go look at Micron, if I go here, revenue. Last year, their revenue was $37 billion. This year, they're looking at $110 billion. Next year, $174 billion. What's that do for income? Why was this stock trading so low? Why was this this went from $8 a share to $58 this year, and they're projecting $104 next year, which means at $971, it's still at like a 9.5 price earnings, which is why I'm saying, okay, you're going to go, this is not sustainable. It's going to fall back down to this number. All right. Well, what's a 30 PE on that number? Because every other company that has this type of gross margins is getting a 30 or 40 or 50 or sometimes 100 or sometimes larger PE. So, right, that's still a $1,500 price target. If you say, forget, this year's an outlier, we won't even target it on this. We'll just give it a 30 PE on this year because we think it's going to fall back down to earth. Well, you're still at $1,500. I think it'll overshoot. This is what these stocks typically do. when they're on fire like this, they overshoot their fair market value. So that's why I think there's a lot of room left on this. Probably not going to go up in a straight line. And you're going to have to be able to stomach. We just looked at we just looked at a week where this was down 21%. You know, we've seen a lot worse. You know, in our space, we've seen things go down that much in a day. But that's a tough week. And you may feel, you know, a lot of people probably bailed. Okay, so that's my Micron story. And I have another one. This is USAR. So let's just go pull this up. USA Rare Earth. This is rare earth materials. This is the stuff everybody needs. They need it for AI. They need it for EV. They need it for regular automobiles. They need it for computers. And here's the deal. I believe it's 75% of all rare earth materials right now are mined in China. 90% of them are refined in China. And you guys can double check me. Don't take my word for it. Do your own due diligence. The United States has gotten behind a couple of companies. They've just recently started to pump money into USA Rare Earth. The United States is in desperate, dire need of creating some supply chain of rare earth materials inside the United States. Because the United States and China both find themselves in unusual situations on different commodities. We're countries that in a lot of ways are somewhat adversarial, but by the same token, somewhat dependent on each other, which is probably a good thing for the world because it keeps some type of peace. But, you know, if AI is the next big thing and there's pieces of that you don't have any, I think they're going to aggressively pursue this. And there's another company I'm invested in as well. But USA Rare Earth, we talked about. And let me show you what we did here because it's already run up a bunch. But again, it's not even back to where it was in January of 2026. So I got into this and talked about it. This was on a Tuesday again. So that was our members only stream. I got into this at $19.81. I've dollar cost averaged up from there. So I'm more like $22 right now. But from this purchase, from that call out, we're already up 40%. That was 10 days ago. Now you might feel like, well, we got, kind of some resistance here, and that's true. We've got, a price over here that it's already been. But I'm not looking at these short-term things. Maybe we'll pull back. I hope we do, because I will keep buying more and more and more of this. If we go bounce off of this and retest and go higher, great. I'll keep buying. I'm hoping to buy several. And again, not financial advice. I'm telling you guys to buy it. I am going to buy more of this. And they have catalysts. The deal flow is going to start. Their mining has only just begun, right? It takes years to get these things to actually mine anything. If you look at this company, you're going to see this is. And that's why the government's got to throw a lot of money at it fast, because they need to fix this supply chain, and we're already 5 steps behind. So money doesn't solve every problem, but it helps. Here, last year, this company's revenue, $1 million. This year, they're looking for $72 million. That's 4,331% growth. But wait, next year, they're looking to go from $72 million to $682 million. That's still another 837% growth. This has a 5-year compound annual growth. It could be 200%. I mean, this is insane. So this is why I think there's a monumental, this stock has not made its run yet. Everybody's so fixated on chips, and they're right to be so, that they haven't even gotten to this yet. They're switching right now. I think you're going to find the chips will continue to run. They've already started switching to the power, which is the list of stocks we're in. And I'm trying to get out ahead. What's next? Right, welcome to Talkin Investing. Because I want to buy, right? I don't want to buy SanDisk at $1,600. I want to buy it at $20. I don't want to buy USAR at $250. I want to buy it at $28. I wanted to buy it at $19 where I got it. So I just think these haven't gotten their day yet, but these rare earth materials are a vital part of the supply chain. And I think attacking any part of this supply chain is going to be a winning formula for years to come. And if you can get to parts that the market hasn't really gotten to yet, then I think you're going to be ahead of the curve. Common sense. Welcome to the Talkin Investing Squad. Thanks so much for joining. We have a members only live stream every Tuesday after the U.S. equity markets close. So like I said, we do get to talk about a lot more on the members only stream. There's a lot of things YouTube doesn't like. They already kind of suppress our stream based on what we talk about. There's a lot more that if we mentioned, they wouldn't show us to anybody. So we get to talk about all that because on our members only stream, it's a closed circuit. So welcome aboard. I appreciate it. Thanks for supporting the channel. So this is one I'm looking at right here. And yes, if you want to wait and see if it, this is where you do your due diligence and decide your comfort level. If you feel like this is a local top and you want to wait for it to pull back, maybe you wait for it to pull back. If you feel like, well, I'll buy now, and if it pulls back, I'll buy more. Or you may feel like, you know what, I don't believe in USAR. I don't think that they're going anywhere. And then you don't invest in them at all. So, So let me go to, I created a list of a couple more because I want to show some of you guys a little more of what we talk about. Let me see if I can find it. Okay. These are April and May editions that a couple of these I've talked about on the Friday streams. All of these I've talked about on the members only stream. And again, that doesn't mean every member went out and bought them. And that doesn't mean these are all great stocks. Some are doing better than others. I led by talking about Salesforce. That's only up 8% since I bought it. I think the market has not even begun to realize that Salesforce isn't going to get crushed by the SaaS apocalypse. It's going to benefit from it. But if you watch and you listen, and I'm sure you guys listen to other channels and watch TV, I watched a bunch of guys on CNBC and a couple of women actually talk about how Salesforce is screwed. So if that's what your thought process, don't buy it. But I think they're missing the forest for the trees. This is, like I said, only up 8% since I started buying it. It's not far from the bottom. It was down 55%. And I don't think there was ever anything wrong with this stock. So I think it should have kept hitting new highs, not go down 55%. So if I'm wrong, then I'll lose money. If I'm right, then there's a lot of upside. ServiceNow has moved faster. ServiceNow is very similar, and I'm not going to go into a deep dive on what ServiceNow is. I'm running out of time. I'm actually pretty much out of time. I'm way over right now. But I wanted to get to this stuff with you guys. ServiceNow is another software as a service that almost every single Fortune 500 company uses. They are even much further along switching their business model from seats to transactions. And they don't care if a person does the transaction or an AI agent does the transaction. You're getting charged either way. So AI doesn't hurt this company. They're going to make more money, in my opinion, than they used to. So I feel like it's up 37%. This moved a lot faster than Salesforce did. But I think these are very similar stories. I actually had a little higher level conviction in Salesforce than ServiceNow. But you can see ServiceNow's moved faster. And I have a very high level of conviction in both of these. Micron, we talked about. US Rare Earth, we talked about. So this is already up 35%. So when I made this chart, this must have been my dollar cost average. At that point, it's higher than that now. 365.90, like I said, and this ran away. This is up 165%. This just ran away from me. I mean, I only bought this not very long ago. So, and Monday.com, which is a smaller company, but I want to show you guys this one. So 52-week range. This stock's trading for $83 right now. Their 52-week range was a high of $316. This company is obviously being priced as dying. So this is a smaller company than the other ones. This is a $4 billion market cap. But this is another one where I think they're ahead of the curve on understanding. Here, the company is expanding its AI capabilities and has adopted a consumption-based pricing model. This is exactly what so it's right here. This is what I mean. You don't have to spend 20 hours doing your due diligence. This is on Yahoo Finance. This is like their summary of what's going on right now with the company. Now, you don't want to take them at their word for this. You got to dig a little deeper than this. But this sure sets you off on the right track, and we haven't done much. And the other two companies that I talked about, this is what they're doing. They're expanding their AI capabilities, and they've adopted a consumption-based pricing model, meaning they're going to charge per transaction instead of per subscription. So if everybody fires everybody, if AI really is stealing everybody's job in the world, and I don't think it is, it wouldn't make any difference because they're going to replace it with AI agents, and these companies are still going to get paid their money. So I think this company, this was a $316 company this year. Right, this peaked at looks like $325, and it's at $83 right now. I didn't catch the bottom; it got to $57, but you don't have. If you look at this chart, we're still pretty close to the bottom, right? And this was at 300 in last June. And now it's at 80. So don't know. Don't know if it's going back to 300, but so if we look at this one, from the top to the bottom, this was down 83%. If it's a bad company, then it deserves to be down 83%. But this is why I'm saying you might want to put it on your watch list. You might want to dig into it for an hour and see what you think they're doing, because they're down 82%. And if this is a good company, then that doesn't make any sense. So that's a bunch of what we go through on our members only. Again, we get to talk. I like to share more with the members because they've been with us a long time and they've helped support the channel in a lot of ways. But, I'd like to share as much as I can on Friday as well. The other thing is, when it's a members-only stream, we really do get to talk a lot more about some stuff that you just really can't talk about on a regular stream, or they just shut you down. So, it's not crazy stuff. They're just rules. So, anyway, I hope you guys got some benefit out of this thing. Thanks for sticking in there for some extra time. Let's see, by the time even we get to the member stream, so I'm going to do one last thing because I said I was going to and I didn't. So remember, if you were here at the beginning, I talked about the fact that we have 2 days to finish above this white line at $76,309. If we can close Sunday above that, then we will have closed May with a green candle. That will be 3 green candles. That has never happened in a Bitcoin bear market. That would be one very strong confirmation that we are no longer in a bear market. Now, we're not there. We were there 5 days ago. We're not there today. So there's some work to do. Number 2, you can see it's obvious. This is the 200-day simple moving average. Bull markets happen above this line. Right, look at this whole bull market. All above that line. Bear markets happen below the 200-day moving average. So you can see we were 3 or 4 days ago, we were crossing this. So I said there was 3 things that I think we need to see. Number 1 has a deadline, and it's Sunday night. I think we need to cross this line Sunday night. Number 2, we need to get and stay above this 200-day moving average. And let's go to the 1. Let's go to the 1 day because this makes a lot more sense on the 1 day. Oh, sorry. You can see we bumped into this. I mean, on the 1 day, we tested the 200-day moving average and we failed. We were above this yellow line. We're below it. So if we can get above this yellow line by the 31st, if we can get above this blue line, and then the third thing would be, if I add the 50-day moving average, you can see these two are getting ready to cross. Doesn't mean they're going to. But if this does this and this does this, they cross, and that's called a golden cross. The opposite's a death cross. That means momentum is now in your favor. It's another strong signal for a bull market. If we go 3 for 3 on those things, I just don't see how you can sit here and think, well, we're in a bear market. Having said that, we haven't done any of those 3 things yet. We're extremely close to all 3 of them. We could go 1 for 3, 2 for 3. I think if we go 2 for 3, it would be very encouraging. And the one we can probably afford to miss is, if March is a red month because we were down 2%, I don't think that would nullify. If we can have a golden cross and get above the 200-day moving average, if we go 2 out of 3 or 3 out of 3, I will be playing this like we're in a bull market. Hello, welcome aboard. Thanks for joining. And we'll be here hopefully Tuesday after the market closes. Please join us on the stream. So those were the 3 things. We went long today, but I hope you guys enjoyed. So everybody have a fantastic weekend. Let's go Bitcoin. And specifically, Bitcoin's got some specific work to do which is get above this this white line at $76,309 by the end of the day Sunday. So that's weekend work. Let's get it done. Have a fantastic weekend, everybody. To the members, I will see you guys on Tuesday after the market closes. Thanks.